Discovered my son in the act midway through. Who would have imagined I'd find myself in this situation? A true tale of betrayal. The autumn evening wrapped the Dawson household in long, stretching shadows, as the fading sunlight filtered through the half-drawn curtains. Claire Dawson stood in the hallway, her hand hovering over the brass doorknob of her son's room, suspended in a moment of uncertainty. After a lengthy day at the office, her thoughts tangled in spreadsheets and looming deadlines, the unusual sounds coming from inside stirred her curiosity, beckoning her to uncover the mystery that lay within. She paused, her heart racing, not from fear, but from an instinct that whispered of profound change, as if the very essence of her existence hinged on what lay beyond the door. Claire had always cherished the bond she shared with Nathan. At 19, he had evolved from the bright-eyed boy she once walked to school with into a young man cloaked in a guarded demeanor, frequently seeking refuge in the solitude of his room, wrapped in layers of silence. With unwavering dedication, she invested her soul into ensuring he felt loved, even in the shadow of the absence left by James, her former husband who had departed a decade prior. Yet the bond that once thrived between them had dimmed, and this evening, that emptiness was undeniable. With a measured breath, Claire gently opened the door, taking great care. The room glowed gently, the desk lamp in the corner casting a warm, inviting light that filled the space. Nathan perched on his bed, his spine arched, his form taut with unease. With his phone clutched tightly, his face flushed a deep crimson, revealing the unmistakable signs of his embarrassment. He lifted his gaze sharply as the door let out a haunting creak. His eyes sparkled with astonishment, a canvas of wonder painted across his face. "Mother!" he called, his voice quivering with a blend of regret and trepidation. With a swift motion, he tucked the phone beneath a pillow, his clumsy gestures betraying a sense of discomfort. Claire's first instinct was to voice her sorrow and retreat, yet an invisible power anchored her steadfastly in position. Perhaps it was the manner in which Nathan averted his gaze, or the realization that his shame ran deeper than that of a young soul ensnared in a private moment. She understood the situation without a single look at the phone's display. "I knocked," and she responded softly, though she had not truly answered. Her voice flowed gently, warm and soothing, echoing the tender tone she used when Nathan was just a small child with a scraped knee. As she stepped into the room, she softly closed the door, allowing a hush to envelop the space. Nathan held his tongue, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. With his shoulders drawn in and his gaze averted, he appeared to withdraw into the depths of his own being. The atmosphere carried a delicate mix of laundry detergent and the unmistakable scent of youth, weaving a tapestry of memories in the air. Claire took in her surroundings, observing the scattered textbooks that lay haphazardly, the unmade bed that seemed to echo her disarray, and the desk, a battleground of chaotic notes and discarded energy drink cans. It unveiled a moment in her son's life, chaotic, delicate, and in this instance, remarkably exposed. "Are you all right?" she asked after a moment, her tone carefully measured. "I'm fine," he replied, his voice barely rising above a whisper. He shifted his stance on the bed, his fingers woven together resolutely in his lap. Claire sat delicately on the edge of the bed, maintaining a careful distance. "Nathan, you needn't feel any shame at all. No matter what this may be, I stand here without judgment." Her words hung in the air, rich with unspoken connection. She sensed the warmth of his embarrassment radiating from him. Yet she also sensed a deeper longing, a quiet desire for comfort, for a bond that transcended the ordinary. Nathan finally turned to face her, his expression a captivating mix of frustration and vulnerability. "You wouldn't get it," he remarked, his voice stripped with bitterness. "Take the plunge, and see what happens." Claire fixed her gaze on the flickering. He lingered for a moment, his hands dancing nervously. "It is not." It captured my curiosity in a way that was hard to resist. "It's just a small matter." Claire nodded slowly, granting him the space to unfold his thoughts. When he remained silent, she decided to shift the focus elsewhere. Nathan, you know that you can confide in me about anything, right? There was a time when I walked in your shoes. I know the depths of confusion, the spark of curiosity, and the weight of loneliness. The word lingered in the atmosphere, echoing profoundly between them. Nathan's eyes sparkled with the light of understanding. And for the first time, his posture softened just a bit. He started to share his thoughts, but hesitated, a lump forming in his throat. I'm uncertain. I wish for you to perceive me as more than just an eccentricity. Claire experienced a sharp tug at her heartstrings upon hearing his words. You are not an outlier, Nathan. You share the same essence as those around you. Humans weave a tapestry of complexity and chaos. That's a chapter in the journey of life. He gazed at her, his eyes glistening with unspoken emotions. It's a struggle, he admitted, his voice quivering with emotion. There are moments when I ponder deeply about who I am and what my true purpose is. With a tender touch, Claire rested her hand on his knee, a gesture of comfort and understanding. That's perfectly normal, she said with a gentle reassurance. There's no need to possess every answer at this very moment. Yet you need not embark on this journey by yourself. For a fleeting moment, they lingered in silence, the tension in the room gradually melting away. Claire carried the burden of her son's challenges, resonating with the path she had walked herself. Journeying through the trials of a broken marriage, nurturing a child solo, and facing the shadows of her own self-doubt. Years flowed by as she devoted herself to Nathan, placing her own needs and desires in the shadows. As she sat with him, a thought crept into her mind. Had she perhaps done him a disservice by hiding her vulnerabilities? Nathan, she whispered gently. Whatever emotions you are experiencing, they are completely valid. Shame has no place here. And you need not traverse this journey by yourself. He looked at her, his expression a tapestry woven with threads of relief and uncertainty. Thank you, Mom, he said gently, his voice filled with heartfelt gratitude. Claire nodded, her heart heavy yet ignited by a glimmer of hope. With a fluid motion, she rose, delicately smoothing the fabric of her skirt. I'll give you some space, she said, gliding toward the door. As her fingers brushed against the doorknob, she paused, stealing a glance over her shoulder at him. Remember, Nathan, I'm always here with you. With each nod, a gentle smile danced at the corners of his lips. I see what you mean. Claire stepped into the hallway, softly closing the door behind her. She rested against it, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts. The encounter stirred a deep-seated essence within her, a fusion of nurturing instinct and compassion, and a haunting recognition of her own isolation. She recognized that this was just the beginning of a conversation that needed to be explored. Yet, for the moment, she chose to move forward slowly, determined to bridge the growing distance between them. The evening had surrendered to the embrace of darkness, as the last whispers of sunlight slipped quietly into the horizon. Claire paused in the hallway, her hand gently touching the doorframe, her heart weighed down by the significance of what she had seen and how it might affect their bond. With a calming breath, she pivoted and moved forward, departing from the lingering shadows of Nathan's room behind her. Awaken. Yet the questions lingered, suspended in the atmosphere like echoes of an unspoken truth, longing for an answer. The moments that followed Claire's exchange with Nathan were rich with. A sense of unease lingered, her thoughts spiraling through the encounter time and again. The fragile connection they had woven together enveloped her in a tapestry of solace and unease. Even with her soothing words, an unshakable concern continued to haunt her thoughts. Could she truly? Can one truly grasp the depth of Nathan's challenges? Claire meandered through the house, adjusting already neat spaces, searching for any distraction to soothe her growing unease. As the hour approached midnight, she nestled into the softly lit living room, a cup of tea resting untouched on the table. The coffee table. She looked out the window at the peaceful suburban street, her reflection faintly visible in the glass. This sensation was familiar to her. Drifting in alone in a life that had once revolved around. In the journey of motherhood, Nathan blossomed rapidly, and she invested so deeply of herself into him that the woman she once was before his arrival felt like a distant memory. Her thoughts wandered, almost against her will, to James. He had left when Nathan was just 9, and from that moment on, she embraced the weight of both parents' duties, setting her own desires aside. Yet now, as she faced this delicate matter with her son, she pondered whether the sacrifices made had stripped Nathan of the emotional support he genuinely needed. The soft patter of footsteps broke through her reverie. She cast her eyes toward him, discovering him poised in the doorway, his shoulders slightly bowed, as if bracing himself for an impending refusal. He had donned a casual t-shirt and comfortable sweatpants. His hair was a wild tangle, a clear sign of a night spent tossing and turning, or maybe one that never truly began. Rest eluded her, and she asked, her voice gentle but resolute. He shook his head, making his way with purpose toward the couch. I guess you couldn't either. Claire gestured for him to join her, inviting him to take a seat beside her. He complied, keeping a respectful distance while remaining close enough for her to feel the tension in his posture. For a fleeting instant, a hush wrapped around them, pierced solely by the gentle murmur of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Nathan, she began softly, I've been pondering what you shared earlier, about feeling adrift, uncertain of your identity or your purpose in this world. He nodded, his gaze fixed intently on the edge of the coffee table. It's a challenge, she went on, choosing her words thoughtfully. Reaching this stage in life brings a whirlwind of expectations, and there are moments when it seems like you're charting this course all by yourself, without a guiding hand to help you make sense of it all. He looked up at her, his eyes searching for comfort in hers. I feel adrift, as if everyone else has everything sorted out but me. Claire extended her hand, resting it gently on his arm in a gesture of comfort. That's a common misunderstanding. A multitude of people resonate with your bewilderment. They merely possess a remarkable talent for hiding it away. As he settled into the couch, a deep sigh escaped his lips, her words reverberating in the chambers of his mind. I'm feeling a bit lost, Mom. At times, it seems as though I'm ensnared, caught in a web of my own making. Claire experienced a profound ache at his candidness. She longed to provide solace and ease the burden he carried, yet she felt adrift, uncertain of how to accomplish this. Her past struggles with solitude and doubt had long been hidden beneath the weight of her obligations, but now they surfaced, resonating with the deep isolation that those feelings could evoke. After a moment of stillness, she began to speak, her voice trembling ever so slightly. I wish to stand by your side. My hope is that you never feel alone in this journey. He looked at her, a mixture of hope and hesitation glimmered in his gaze. What do you mean? Claire paused, her mind a tapestry of ideas, as she searched for the words that would weave her tale just right. There are moments when doubt shrouds our clarity, and the presence of a guiding hand can truly transform our path. A figure we can trust. Nathan's expression transformed, his brow furrowing in confusion, much like a guide navigating a complex tale. She gently shook her head, even as the notion danced fleetingly through her mind. No, not exactly. I'm talking about a person who genuinely comprehends your essence, someone who deeply connects with your challenges. The space grew ever more constricted, the atmosphere heavy with the resonance of her words, hanging palpably in the air. Nathan's face shifted, his confusion deepening into a profound uncertainty, unveiling a more delicate aspect of his being. What are you trying to convey? He inquired, his voice scarcely rising above a whisper. With a gentle nod, Claire kept her hand softly placed on his arm. If you would allow me. His eyes searched for hers, and for a fleeting moment she caught a glimpse of the child he had once been, the boy who looked to her for guidance in a world that often felt immense and intimidating. I'm not quite sure, Mom. It feels peculiar. I understand, she confessed, her tone soft yet resolute. Yet, it is frequently the case that those who hold us dear are the very ones most capable of standing by our side. My heart holds you, Nathan, as my greatest treasure. Her words seemed to break something deep inside him, and he leaned in, concealing his face in his hands. I fear I might shatter it all, he whispered softly. His voice carried a husky, muted quality. Claire laid a comforting hand on his back, her touch a blend of strength and tenderness. Fear not, for you shall not falter in your endeavors. Regardless of the emotions you face or the challenges that arise, we will journey through them together, taking each step as it comes. The silence that followed hung heavy with emotion, yet it felt warm and inviting. The hush wrapped around them, crafting a sanctuary for mending and the unfolding of insight. At long last, Nathan raised his eyes. His eyes sparkled with a tale, steadfast yet inviting. Very well, he whispered gently, but might we continue at a relaxed tempo? With a radiant smile, Claire felt a warm glow envelop her heart, determined not to let this moment slip away. Indeed, Nathan. Take as much time as you need. They stayed together a little longer, the weight of their conversation shifting into something more manageable. The bond that tied them together, though tested, appeared to have grown stronger, fortified by their willingness to confront the unspoken. As the first light of dawn gently filtered through the window, Claire felt a spark of cautious hope ignite within her. This was not the resolution to all their struggles, but instead a beginning, a step toward understanding, toward togetherness, toward healing. She cast a glance at Nathan, who had reclined comfortably against the couch. His eyes were closed, yet his face emanated a serene calmness. In that fleeting moment, after what felt like an eternity, she felt the undeniable bond that tethered them together as a true team. Two imperfect souls journeying through a tangled realm, united in their quest. As the morning light wrapped the room in a warm embrace, Claire resolved to stand by her son as he sought his way, no matter the time or trials that awaited him. The dawn crept in slowly, its light filtering into the Dawson home like a hesitant guest hoping for a warm welcome. Claire adjusted her position on the living room couch, a twinge of discomfort in her neck reminding her of the awkward way she had drifted into slumber. Beside her, Nathan lay in slumber, his head nestled against the cushions, his chest rising and falling in a tranquil, steady rhythm. For a fleeting moment, Claire watched him intently, her heart a tapestry woven with threads of heaviness and hope. The exchange from the night before had unlocked a passage between them, yet it also left her wrestling with doubts she couldn't fully clarify. She had pledged to guide him through the trials that lay ahead, yet the weight of that promise lingered heavily around them. An invisible power tugging at each of her musings. As Nathan stirred from his slumber, the sun had fully ascended, casting a warm golden light that filled the room with its gentle embrace. He shook off the last vestiges of slumber, rubbing his eyes as he turned his attention to Claire. In that fleeting instant, a glimmer of vulnerability danced across his features, only to be quickly shrouded by a more protective facade. As the first light of dawn crept in, he let out a soft murmur, rising from his slumber and reaching his arms wide in a gentle stretch. "Morning," Claire replied softly, her lips curving into a gentle smile. "How do you find yourself feeling today?" With a casual shrug, he let his eyes linger on the coffee table, lost in thought. "In a moment of uncertainty, I find myself pondering. It feels somewhat peculiar, I guess." "That's all right," she replied, her voice gentle yet unwavering. "Patience is a treasure of the soul." He acknowledged her with a nod, but the silence that followed lingered heavily, filled with unspoken feelings. Claire sensed a compelling desire in him to share more, yet she held back from pressing him to continue. Instead, she rose and stretched, her joints voicing their discontent after a night spent on the couch. "What do you say we indulge in a delightful breakfast?" she proposed, striving to weave a thread of familiarity into the fabric of the moment. "Of course," he responded, rising to his feet with a sense of purpose. They moved into the kitchen, where the sound of clinking plates and the gentle hiss of the stove wrapped around them like a warm embrace. Claire lost herself in the rhythmic dance of frying eggs and toasting bread, while Nathan stood by the counter, watching her with a quiet intensity. She felt his eyes on her, and though she decided to ignore it, she knew he was wrestling with something deep inside. Finally, as she meticulously placed the plates upon the table, he commenced his tale. Mother, in the wake of last night, she looked up, her expression radiating warmth and welcome. What is it that you seek? I don't want things to become awkward between us, he said, his voice trailing off. Quivering. Well, they already have a certain way about them, but I'd prefer not to add any more layers to the situation. Claire settled into her chair across from him, her hands gracefully arranged on the table. Nathan, she whispered, the only thing that makes the world strange is our willingness to see it that way. What we talked about last night, your feelings, they are either wrong nor bad. It's just that. Intricate. He nodded slowly, his fork gently poking at the eggs on his plate, as if contemplating a tale yet to unfold. Intricate. They shared a meal in serene silence for a fleeting moment, the tension between them ebbing and flowing like the ocean's waves. Claire longed to speak words of solace, yet she understood the importance of granting him the space he needed. The space to ponder. Finally, Nathan broke the silence that hung in the air. Have you ever felt that way? Are you lacking? As if, no matter how hard you try, it will never be enough. Claire experienced a profound ache in her heart at his words. It was a relentless battle, she admitted, especially since your father left. I felt the burden of expectation to fulfill both roles for you. A singular figure, embodying both nurturing and strength. Yet, in the face of my unwavering endeavors, it always appeared not enough. He looked at her, his expression a tapestry woven with threads of surprise and understanding. Indeed, you always seem to possess a remarkable command over everything. She bestowed a gentle smile, gently moving her head from side to side. Trust me, Nathan, I truly didn't. I remain uncertain. Yet, that captures the very spirit of existence. There's no requirement to have every detail laid out in advance. Endurance is essential. He nodded once more, his body language softening slightly. It appears fair and sensible. They finished their breakfast in a serene calm, the earlier tensions slowly dissipating into the morning air. Departing. As they finished clearing the table, Claire felt a spark of hopeful anticipation in the air. Amidst the complexities that lay ahead, she began to sense the subtle hints of a profound bond taking shape between them, grounded in genuine understanding and compassion. The rest of the day flowed gently, like a calm river winding through a peaceful landscape. Nathan retreated to his room for a spell, while Claire took the opportunity to dive into the household chores that awaited her. With careful precision, she folded. As she folded the laundry in the living room, her mind wandered back to their earlier conversation, pondering the deeper meanings it held for their relationship. As Nathan emerged from his room later that afternoon, a soothing aura enveloped him. Once upon a time, there was a figure known simply as he. He nestled onto the couch beside her, effortlessly picking up a stray sock and folding it with a gentle touch. I truly appreciate your support, Mom, he expressed, his voice filled with sincerity. Claire looked at him, her heart overflowing with pride and love. Without fail, Nathan. In spite of the circumstances. After what felt like an endless journey, she finally beheld a genuine smile illuminating his face, a subtle but significant sign that they were journeying in the right direction. As the sun dipped below the horizon, they decided to share a movie, a cherished experience that had long been missing from their lives. For ages. This cherished ritual provided a warm embrace of comfort and normalcy, a soft whisper that even in the face of uncertainty, they could still unearth moments of connection and joy. As the credits began to roll, A wave of tranquility enveloped Claire, a sensation she recognized had been missing from her life for far too long. Her gaze wandered to Nathan, who had surrendered to slumber on the couch beside her, his head resting peacefully against the cushions. Deep down, she sensed that their adventure was merely unfolding, with countless challenges lurking just ahead. In that fleeting moment, she discovered comfort in her unwavering presence beside him, offering the love and encouragement he needed to traverse his journey. As she turned off the television and draped a blanket over him, a renewed sense of purpose enveloped her. Though she might not have every answer, she carried something far more profound, an unyielding determination to stand by her son, no matter the challenges ahead. In that moment, as the house embraced a serene stillness, Claire realized that she was not just leading Nathan on his journey. She was embarking on a journey to uncover her own path.